The next exercise is to begin preparing the chi within the abdomen, within the dantian space, ready for it to start moving into the orbit. So as we said, we don't ever pull it all the way through the orbit, anything like this, using the mind, not using the intention. Instead, we just prepare the chi within the abdomen, prepare the chi within the dantian until it is ready, till it is almost overflowing. At that point, when it is at the brim, when it is ready to overflow, it's like we just give it a tiny little nudge in the right direction, and then if the body is ready, then the microcosmic orbit will begin. But first, we need to do some work in the abdominal cavity, just to start to thicken and prepare the chi, ready for our next part of our practice. So once again, I sit upright, spine nice and elevated. Yeah? If you prefer to sit on a chair than the floor, that's okay. And you're just going to rest your hands either onto your knees or into your lap, whatever you prefer, it doesn't matter. Lightly close the eyes. And as always, just breathing in and out through the nose. Allow your body to breathe. Just take a second to let go of everything within the mind, everything that's been previously happening in the day. Just settle into your practice. Relax the shoulders. Don't let them be tight. Relax the breath. Allow whatever quality that has arisen in your breath through the previous exercises with your attention to be there. The better it is anchored to the base of the body, the better it is as a form of preparation for this kind of work. Let the mind sink along with the breath down to the lower abdomen, just above the perineum in the dantian area. Now, we're going to do something that when you first hear the instruction, it can sound quite strange. But actually, if you don't overthink, just try. You will find it's not so difficult, providing enough chi has been built, enough of the other work, enough extraction of the true lead towards the dantian. So what I do is I sink the mind down, and then when I breathe in, first of all, we're going to change to chi high moving towards the spine, like we did previously. And then breathing out, allow it to relax. So we're switching to this reverse abdominal breathing, or this breathing that establishes the Ming line within the abdomen. So breathe in, let this point, Ren 6, come back towards your spine. Breathe out, let it relax. Remember that we're using the intention of pulling from inside, behind Ren 6, to draw it back, rather than tensing or contracting the abdominal wall. So just for a minute or so, just switch to this breathing method. Remembering that we want to keep the bellows from above. We do this by enabling the breath to stay anchored low, even when I pull Ren 6 in towards the spine. Don't let the breath come high. So we're just re-establishing the exercise we looked at previously. So you've got deep, rooted, anchored, reverse breathing. The Ming line, nice and strong. Maybe if you've trained long enough, then you can feel the line of pull between Qi Hai and Ming Men. But if not, don't worry. So take your right hand, just bring it across, as if your forearm is horizontal, and gently touch the solar plexus. Just mark it with your fingers so you know where it is. You do not want to be too high, not in the chest where the heart is, not at the sternum, underneath at the solar plexus. Just touch it a few times, just so you have a point of reference. Then once you can feel it, you know where it is, then you can take the hand back and place it on your knee or your lap. So you just want to make sure you're aware where the solar plexus is residing. Now drop the mind down inside the abdomen, towards the dantian, maybe a little lower, to the point where the yang qi and the warmth has been gathering. If you have built a foundation in the previous exercises, there will be a marker of warmth when you do this work. Now when I breathe in, it's a long, slow inhalation, and I'm going to draw the qi from the dantian up towards the solar plexus, towards the yellow cord, huang ting. Then when I breathe out, I'm going to let the qi from the yellow cord go down to the dantian, to the lower dantian. So when I inhale, the qi from the dantian comes up in my body to the solar plexus. When I exhale, it goes down from the solar plexus down to the lower dantian. It sounds like an unusual practice, but it's not so hard if there is enough qi. Don't use your imagination, don't visualize anything, but when I breathe in, attach the movement to your inhalation. So I breathe in, something will move from the dantian to the solar plexus, the yellow cord. As I breathe out, I let it go down from the yellow cord to the lower dantian again. I'm going to maintain that breathing pattern. So look inside the abdomen, breathe in, draw the qi up to the solar plexus, long inhalation, breathe out. The qi will be guided down by the inner movement of the breath back to the lower dantian. This practice, after a while, is not so hard, because I feel when I inhale, the qi that is built in the dantian is warm and fluid. When I breathe it up to the solar plexus, it moves. There is a line of warmth that moves up. When I breathe out, something inside pressurizes and moves the warmth back down to the lower dantian. The two are mixing. The qi within the lower dantian is the yang qi that we have been extracting from the essence. The qi at the yellow cord is the acquired qi The seat of the chi we derive from our food and from our breath, the chi that is easy for us to build. We just eat and live healthy. And I want to mix the two together so that it starts to thicken and build. With an exercise like this, success depends upon the prior stages. If there is enough of a foundation and enough chi, then it will move easily enough. As I said, it's always like it is ready to overflow anyway. So just a small adjustment of the instruction with the mind, attaching that exercise to the breath, and the chi will start to move. When you have done this a while, then you will only need to initiate that breath once, and then that mixing will continue of its own accord. The movement between the lower dantian and the solar plexus will start to become a constant. At first, it is attached to the breath. We use the breath, breathing in to draw the chi up, breathing out to send it down. But after a while, we do not. Now, whether I breathe in or out or hold my breath, it makes no difference. The ball is already rolling, if you like. The chi is already moving up and down between these 2 points because I've done it before. So now I just observe. I just give this movement of chi between these 2 places my attention. There is no need for me to govern anymore. But at first, you will have to initiate the process. This practice will start to thicken the chi, if you like, almost like mixing 2 parts, water and flour, to create something. The thickening of the chi, the mixing of these 2, starts to make the chi within the abdomen dense, more dense. It's like the more I do it, the thicker the dantian space, the abdominal cavity starts to become, because of the acquired chi and the yang chi combining. We are submerging the energy at the yellow cord in the cauldron of the lower dantian. That's how they explain it alchemically. With this kind of work, subtlety and attention to detail are important. So you practice, but if you feel that the breath starts to ride too high, especially on the inhalation, if you're lifting it up high into the chest, then you will have to hesitate, re-establish the previous qualities of anchoring the breath down low, and then go back to your practice. So for a few minutes, we will practice this, mixing the 2 chi. keep with this practice for some time. Make sure that the chi does not rise above the solar plexus, above the yellow cord. If you feel you want to help this process to trap it, you can place the hands with the palms facing down, just above the solar plexus. Now going open. This will help serve as a cap to stop the chi going too high. But if you feel you don't need that, you can just have your hands on your knees or your lap. If the chi doesn't feel ready to move from the lower dantian up and down, it means that not enough yang has been moved to the lower dantian. You need a better foundation. We don't use our imagination. We just use the mental instruction and then give it our attention. And when the chi moves, it is very clear, very tangible. As with all these practice, it's minimal intervention. So once it is going, once the mixing is here, then we can just observe. And sometimes it will even speed up, maybe moving about this speed, up and down, between the two dantian. Up, down, up, down, up. It's quite surprising how fast it goes. Once that is happening, just give it your attention. Then to conclude your practice, switch your breathing back to normal. Just take a few deep breaths in and out through the nose. Let the mixing subside if it has begun. Just let it go, sort of settle. Even settle back down to the lower dantian, away from the solar plexus. Then take a deep breath in. Bring the hands above the head. Breathe out. Bring everything down. Put the hands in the lap. So this practice is about what they call submerging the chi from the yellow cord, your acquired chi essentially, into the dantian. We don't send the acquired chi straight down to do that, even though it sounds like it. What we're doing is actually, like I say, these two forces are starting to mix inside the abdominal cavity. The yang that has been extracted from the perineum, essentially, put into the dantian, developed by the Ming line, is then drawn up towards the solar plexus, where it will interact with the chi, like I said, that's taken from the food you eat. This is called the central granary, like a grain house, a storehouse, zhongwan, a storehouse for the energy from the digestive system. Yeah? And what happens is this chi starts to mix and combine. And it's like the yang chi is the energy. It's not literal, but you think of the energy from the yellow cord, the chi from the yellow cord, almost like a little substance, like a thickener, a thickening agent. And what happens when the two start to combine is this starts to build more density, more fullness in the lower dantian. As it fills in this fashion, it will become closer and closer to being ready to open the microcosmic orbit, to draw it into the Du channel. There is one more stage we have to practice between that stage and this stage, but first you want to start to thicken it. The result will be, alongside everything we've talked about, the heat and the vibration, everything in the dantian, what will start to happen after this is it will feel like something is pressurizing from the inside, like something is becoming thicker, something is becoming heavier. It's another practice that we do in 20-minute bursts. That's enough. Once a day, twice a day, whatever you prefer. You can use the same hours of the day to help you. Sunrise, sunset. Practice this for a while till the abdomen starts to become a little denser, not on the outside, but something inside. Something inside is forming, something is thicker. When I move, it feels like there's something heavy in the center, something thick. This is when I know that the chi is getting ready. So practice that.